Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Franchise Hockey Manager 9 playthrough of the Chicago Blackhawks. We are about to begin the 2028 season, and at least according to the FHM 9 preview, our Blackhawks are one of the Stanley Cup favorites. We did have what I think is a pretty good offseason. Added, in our view, two of the most talented players who are available as free agents, Quinton Byfield and Matty Beniers, and also brought up to the NHL roster a fair amount of the talent that we have either picked up in draft in our first several years of running this franchise, or that was already in the Blackhawks organization before we took over. You can see, looking at the players who are 25 and below, more than half of our roster at this point kind of fits that description. So the thought is that this team is young and on the rise. We've had the addition of a couple big-time players, and in 6 years prior to this one as general manager of the Blackhawks, we've got 3 playoff appearances and 1 championship. And at a minimum, the goal is to get to the playoffs this year and win at least one round. And clearly, based on at least the one prognostication that we get in this game, hopefully can win even more than one round in the playoffs, and maybe make a long run with this team. I think we are in a position where we're going to have a lot better offense than we've had some of the past few years. We're going to be getting underway in just a few days. Schedule, at least in terms of home and away games, not particularly favorable for us in this month of October. Just 3 home games among the 9 games on our schedule. So if we can get out of the month of October with 5 or more wins, I would view that as a pretty respectable start to the season. And we made it to our final game in October, beat Vancouver 5-2. Quinton Byfield off to a great start with us. You can see he's got a 10-game assist streak, so that includes his 9 games with us this year and his final game last year with his previous team. 6-2-1 record for the Blackhawks, so we did even better than we hoped with all of the road games, 6 of the 9 games being on the road. We're hoping to get to 5 wins. We ended up with 6 wins as well as the overtime loss. So a really solid start to the season from the Blackhawks. First place in our division with 13 points, living up to some of the lofty expectations so far. That 13 points is second best in hockey, behind only the Canucks, who we did beat on the road yesterday. You can see Byfield leading the league in assists. Victor Eklund also having a good start. Byfield tied for the league lead in points. Has got 5 goals to go with those 13 assists. And our backup goalie, Svedabak, has been pretty proficient in the 2 out of our 9 games that he has been our netminder. So a good start to the Blackhawks here in October. And as we begin the month of November, I'll take a look at the development report. Looks like some pretty good news in October. Matty Beniers, Tyson Buksowski, who's up because of an injury, Mathis Dubé, the youngster Jordan Forget, Matteo Rotundi, and Cole Sillinger, all young players who are improving. Not surprisingly, Mitch Marner moving in the wrong direction at his age of 31, but you can see with 6 goals, 7 assists, and 13 points, the captain has been very effective in the early stages of this season so far. Probably a little less pressure on him with the additions that we've made of Byfield and Beniers this year, and the fact that thus far Dylan Larkin is also healthy after missing big chunks of each of the last couple years. So things are going well for the Blackhawks. Quinton Byfield was the NHL Player of the Month, so he is off to a fantastic start for his Blackhawks career. You can see we're doing pretty well financially, generating a lot of points. We'll take game... Well, let's check, just make sure. I'm assuming we are still selling out every game, but I guess it's appropriate that we check on that before just making an assumption. Average home attendance, 23,908, 3 sellouts and 3 games at home. So I think we are certainly safe if we want to dial back the game promotions a little bit. In our final year in the United Center this season, we are in the process of building the Old School Sports Arena, a much more new tech arena that will be opening at the beginning of next season for us. So things are going well so far. Check in on team harmony, no conflicts at this point. So the issue with Matteo Rotundi that came up after an incident this off-season has been handled. Taking a look at job security, ownership pleased with us, and with the good start to the season, we've moved from a 57 in terms of fan happiness to 61, so moving in a better direction there after they've been somewhat disappointed in us the last few seasons. Certainly the additions of Byfield and Benier have them pretty excited for what's going to happen on the ice this year. And we are too. It's been a good start for the Blackhawks. We'll see if we can keep it up here in the month of November. Take a quick look at the schedule. Kind of a more even mix between home and away games. Actually, it favors home. It looks like we've got 7 home games and 5 on the road. So I'm going to be greedy. I'd love to win 8 games. If we can get through the month of November with 14 wins, that would be a fantastic start for this team. Taking a look at owner confidence, Wirt's pleasantly surprised with how well things are going. The fans are satisfied with us. So as I was talking about, things seem to be moving in a better direction. And I did mention a few moments ago when I was talking about the player development report that Buczkowski was up on the big team because of an injury. Just to let you know the details on that, not a serious matter in any stretch of the imagination. Rotundi was supposed to be out for 1 to 2 weeks. You can see he's only been on the injury list for 4 or 5 days at this point since the 27th, and he's already down to a day-to-day status with a quad soreness. So we figured we would be careful with the injury, but not a major situation. And Buczkowski, not sure whether he'll be playing today against Detroit or not, but it could be his last opportunity before he heads back down to the AHL. Did play him in 6 games last year. Maybe we'll let him skate with the first team today. Could be his only chance for a while. Just have to decide whether we want to sit Luke Coughlin, who's at -3 through 5 games, or David Jaracek, who has been a bit more productive thus far. And we did get the month of November off to a good start with a 2-1 win home against Detroit. Byfield's assist string was ended. We did decide to play the young defenseman. Don't know that he did much of anything. Dylan Larkin with the 2 goals for us, so that was good to see that the veteran is productive. 7 goals and 3 assists in 10 games. It's never really been a question of production with Larkin over the last few years of us. With us, it's just been a matter of whether he's been in the lineup. You can see missed 50 games 3 years ago, about 20 the year 2 years ago, and last season once again missed about 50 games. So he's only been on the ice about half the time in these last 3 seasons. Hopefully this year we can get a 70, 78 game season out of him like we did his first 2 years with the team when he scored 45 and 53 goals. And with 7 goals through the first 10 games here in his age 32 season. Last year, I believe, of his contract with us, he is off to a pretty strong start. So over the first close to 2 weeks of November, kind of done what we should have done. We won 3 games at home, but we have lost 2 in a row back-to-back at Edmonton and the Kings this weekend. Defense is getting a little banged up for us. I'd mentioned that Rotundi was hurt before. He actually came back, but is now suffering from nausea day-to-day with that. Rasmus Anderson, back soreness for 1 to 2 weeks, probably going to put him on the IL and look for some help in the minors, because we've also had to put Quinn Hughes on the IL with a hip strain, although he should be back hopefully within the next couple of days. So going to have to tap a little bit into the depth in our farm system to bring up a defenseman. But it's a position that we've invested a lot of first-round picks in over the years. Rotundi and Coughlin were both first-round picks in the first season we ran the draft back in 2023, 16th and 20th pick overall for those two. And they are now producing pretty well at the NHL level. So I think we've got enough depth to get us through. Obviously, if we're going to get to that lofty goal I had mentioned of winning 8 games in the month of November and getting to 14 by the end of the month, we're going to have to win 5 of our final 7 games, with 4 of those at home. So definitely going to be a challenge to get off to the extremely fast start that we're hoping for, but with a team that we think that can contend for a title, certainly got as good a chance as any of these Blackhawks team that we've been managing now into 7 years to put a really good streak like that together and start putting our stamp on this season before it's even winter. And as we decide who we're going to bring up to help us on the blue line, can check in on some of the young players that we signed this offseason. Xavier Veilleux, former first-round pick for us, as we often do, started him in the ECHL right out of the NCAA. Can see as a blue liner, he's been very productive there with 13 points through 9 games, plus 9. So certainly going to move him up to Rockford. Probably not going to put him right into the NHL, but good to see him being productive. His line mate down there, Roy Chung, also very productive with 10 points in 9 games, plus 6. Also a player that came right out of college. He's a 5th-round pick who really developed surprisingly well for us, so we're going to move him up to the AHL at all, and those youngsters are both one step closer to their National Hockey League dreams. And given that our expectation, whoever we bring up, probably not going to get a lot of playing time, we're going to bring up the 28-year-old Adam Wilsby, versatile enough to play both left and right defense, although he probably will not be getting a ton of playing time. Also a guy, though, who's probably unlikely to be picked up by anybody when we drop him back through waivers in a week or so. And while we're checking in on the youngsters, we might as well check in on the wingers. Julian Mays, another former, first-round draft pick of ours. 15th overall, 2026, just a little over 2 years ago. Out of the WHL this year, where he had a monster season. He has 10 points and is plus 11 in the ECHL, so certainly more than equipped for that level, so we're going to move him up to Rockford also. Interesting that a couple of the players we brought in from Europe who we started in the AHL, Linus Eriksson, -6, although he does have 7 points in 11 games, and Noah Dower Nielsen with just 2 points and his -4 in his first 8 games at the AHL level. Parker Forlin in Rockford, also -5. Sasha Boisvert, 5 points in 9 games and +5 in the ECHL. So not as productive as Mays has been, or even as the defenseman that we just promoted to the AHL. I think we will bring him up to the AHL soon, but we'll give him a little time to maybe excel with some of his more accomplished line mates off the team now. Lou Levesque has been pretty productive with 12 points in 9 games in the ECHL this year. Adam Jecko, 10 points in his first 9 games, so he's off to a good start. I think he's a little bit more of a real prospect than Levesque is, so we are going to actually promote Jecko back up to the AHL. And that's kind of it as far as the top prospects that we have in the organization. So I had mentioned, I believe last episode, I tend to bring guys who are right out of college or really young, give them, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in the ECHL just to hopefully see them dominate at that level. And then we'll bring them up to the AHL, mid-November as we are right now, early December, maybe the beginning of the new calendar year, depending on how they perform. And then we'll get a better sense of how ready they are for the AHL, and probably also have them exposed to somewhat better coaching and ice conditions there as well, to hopefully get a better read on what they can potentially do for us at the NHL level down the line. So as we get closer to Thanksgiving, still kind of been doing what we're supposed to do. We won 3 in a row at home, and then went back on the road and just lost 4-1 to Nashville. So 3 games left in the month, 12-5-1 record. I would certainly love to get 2 out of 3 wins, especially with 2 games being on the road, to get to 14 wins as we get to December. But we're going to be doing it in a difficult situation. Mitch Marner going to be out 1 to 2 months with a herniated disc. Given that we do have big expectations for this team, going to hope that he'll be back and healthy. Certainly maybe by the early part of 2029. Not going to delay treatment, but he'll certainly hurt the offense not having him around with 8 goals and 11 assists, 19 points in 17 games. But not going to delay treatment. Want to make sure that he is going to be as healthy and well as possible, rather than kind of trying to nurse him through the rest of the season, especially given that it's only late November. Victor Eklund's been banged up with a groin strain the last few days, which has been unfortunate because the youngster is also having an excellent season for us with 19 points, including 7 goals in his first 15 games. So it will be nice to get him back on the ice, particularly with that injury to Marner. Got another offer for the veteran Adrian Kemp, who has not been very productive. No goals and just 2 assists in 16 games in the final year of his contract. Petter Jacobson is actually a guy who our scout thinks has some potential. It's something we probably should think about. Player who was picked in the second round by the Leafs. It's kind of the best offer that we've gotten for Kemp. Certainly he's got a lot of work to do to be an NHL level player. He is only 20 years old. And Kemp's done really nothing this year. You can see his ice time down significantly with all the talent we've added to just under 12 minutes a game. Game score also lower than it was a year ago with either Toronto or the Blackhawks. So it hasn't been going well, but I don't think we really need to dump him just yet, especially with the injury to Marner. Maybe a little more regular ice time can help Kemp kind of get himself started, and we're not in a situation where we're up against the cap at all. So Kemp could be a guy that we move in a month or two as we see how the season goes, because taking that contract off the books would potentially let us bring a big contract back of someone who may be a little better. Obviously, we're not going to get a better player and a younger player in a straight-up trade, but we may be able to get something for Kemp and then put a package together for, as I said, someone who's younger and better, where we give up some decent assets, take on some salary, and maybe make a move to really help push this team over the top. But we've got almost 4 months till I guess closer to 3.5 months till the trade deadline. So plenty of time for us to be thinking about those things. Certainly don't feel like we have to act right now. And like I said, with Marner on the IL, maybe a little bit more regular ice time will allow Kemp to jumpstart his season a bit here at the age of 32. And with Marner on the IL, we're going to bring up Linus Eriksson. We talked earlier about how his plus minus wasn't great in the AHL. Does now have 3 goals and 6 assists, so 9 points in 14 games, although he is still -5. His morale was really bad as a 22-year-old being down in the AHL. We'll see what happens. This is a guy that was a 4th-round draft pick of ours, so didn't have huge expectations for him. But get an opportunity to maybe see him play a few times over the next couple of weeks. Probably not going to be in the lineup every day, but at least give him a chance to start proving himself at the NHL level, although he will, unhappily for him, likely be back in the AHL not in the not-so-distant future. And we decided to try to change things up on the road at Arizona. Finally got our first road win of the month. Started our backup goalie, Philip Svedabak, who I think has only played 4 games for us so far this year. But you can see he's, even after being part of a 6-4 victory, leading the league in goals against average and save percentage. So he has been excellent. Byfield still tied for the league lead in assists. Larkin is second in goals, and Byfield tied for second in points. So definitely getting a lot more offense out of the team this year than we have in previous seasons. You can see 19 games in, we've already got 27 points, 3rd highest total in the Western Conference. And the teams that have more points than us all have several games in hand on us, 2 in the case of the Wild and 4 in the case of the Ducks. So season's still going well for the Blackhawks. Wanted to get to 14 wins. Thought that would be a great start to the season by the end of November, with 2 games left in the month at Winnipeg and then home against St. Louis. Definitely have an opportunity to do it. And another big game for Dylan Larkin in a 6-2 win over our rival Blues to finish off the month. Hat trick with an assist in only 13 and a half minutes of ice time, so very productive there. We did get to the 14 wins that we wanted and did even a little better than hoped, because the loss to Winnipeg was an overtime loss, so we at least got a point out of that. So as we approach the end of November and we're done playing in November, a 14-5-2 record for the Blackhawks. Certainly everything we could have hoped for the start of the season. 30 points, which is tied for third best in the Western Conference. But you can see the teams that are ahead of us have 25, 25, and 23 games played. We've only played 21 games. So really nice start to the season for the Blackhawks. You can see Byfield still on the points and assist leaderboard. Larkin now tied for the league lead in goals. And Svedabak still pretty high in the goalie rankings, even though, like I said, I believe he's only played 4 games for us. Actually, I guess he's played a few where he's come on in relief. He definitely hasn't started 8 games. That number does not seem right. Apparently, I may have started him a few games that I didn't think that I did. 6-2 record. I don't know. I think there may be something going on with the stats, because if he's played 8 games, and I definitely haven't started him 8 games, maybe I've been careless. But he's also got a 6-2-1 record in 8 games, so being involved in 9 decisions, so to speak, in 8 games makes me think there's some kind of little problem with the numbers here. 8-3 record for Wallstedt, so he's been pretty good too, with the 266 goals against average, 909 save percentage, down a little bit from very little bit from the previous 2 seasons. But an 8-3 record for Wallstedt and a 6-2-1 record. Seems like there is a. Oh, those are shutout. Okay, I was very confusing to myself. I was trying to figure out where the mystery games were. You were probably yelling at me, "Yeah, you idiot! That's not overtime losses. That's shutout." So he's 6-2 in 8 games, and he has played more than I thought, though. So there must have been a few games I think where I had moved him into the lineup to start for Wallstat, and then when the next game came around, I forgot to take him back out of the lineup and put Wallstat back in. So he's played a little bit more than I would have anticipated, but both of the goalies doing well so far. And we made it to the month of December. Blackhawks, Marner, Hughes, Byfield, Wallstat, and Kemp. Kemp, a bit surprising with the most popular jerseys. You can see he has been more productive the last few games with Marner out of the lineup. Now up to 7 assists on the year. So he's been pretty productive in these last few games where he has been getting a little more ice time also. So that is positive. Development report, Jarachik, Korsinski, Wallstat all getting better at the NHL level. And Kemp, Larkin, and Sharangovich, the guys in their 30s, not surprisingly, are the guys who are heading in a little bit less positive direction. Going to see if maybe we can take our advertising budget down even another tad to save a little more money. Take a look at attendance. Yeah, we're still selling out every game at home. So although it's just a tiny thing, it only saves us 2 revenue points. We're going to cut game promotions down, see if that 5% penalty has any significant impact on our attendance, given that we're playing really good hockey and we tend to be one of the, if not the best teams in terms of home attendance in the league. Probably not going to have much of an impact. Fan happiness getting up to pretty solid levels with the good start to the season. Locker room is harmonious. Job security is good. Take a quick look. We already kind of dug in a little bit to the goalies and taken a look at the standings. Although Wallstat hasn't played over the last few days, someone else has had a rough game. So now both of our goalies are in the top 8 in the league in goals against average. So that's really nice to see. We will take a quick look at the scoring for the team this year, how we're doing. Byfield, as we've talked about, leading the team in scoring with 30 points, one of the top assist facilitators in all of hockey at this point, more than 1 assist a game. Larkin, kind of the opposite, 18 goals, only 6 assists, but very productive, and he's been healthy most importantly. Eklund with 21 points in his first 16 games. Sharangovich with 14 points. Will Shields with 12. Rinzel with 12, the defenseman. Cotter, Korchinski, and Quinn Hughes, left winger, and a couple more defensemen with 10 points on the season. Matty Beniers, certainly a disappointing start to his Blackhawks career. Only 1 goal and 6 assists through his first 17 games. You can see we've got just such incredible talent. He's on the ice for less than 13 minutes a game. He's been playing on the 3rd or 4th line for us a lot of time because obviously we've got Byfield and Larkin ahead of him as our 2 top centers. Cole Sillinger and Nathan Villeneuve, another couple of our other centers, are also not having incredibly productive seasons. Villeneuve in particular, the 22-year-old who had 11 goals in 48 games his first year with us and then 27 last year, has really taken a step back this year. But again, Beniers, Sillinger, and Villeneuve are all playing with the 3rd and 4th line, with Byfield and Larkin healthy and our top 2 centers. So right now there's not enough ice time for all of the quality players we have, but that's probably a pretty good problem to have. Taking a look at the division standings, see how we're doing offensively. 78 goals for really does not stand out, even though the offense has been more productive this year than in some previous seasons. Can see averaging close to 4 goals a game, but only 56 goals allowed, so allowing less than 3 a game. Our plus 22 differential is the best in the Western Conference, and it's the second best in all of hockey behind only the Panthers. So, doing everything that we could possibly hope thus far this year with our Chicago Blackhawks. Goal is to stay healthy. Goal is to keep playing well on the ice. Marner's still going to be out for 1 to 2 months, so we'll see if we can piece things together without him. Take a quick look at Linus Eriksson. Does have an assist in his first 3 games at the NHL level, so he's been out there a little bit. Have to figure out how to continue to get him and Forget, the 2 guys who qualifies as rookies right now among our frontliners, a little more playing time. But not a lot to complain about for the Blackhawks thus far in the 2028 to 2029 season. We'll see if we can continue the great start that we've had in our next episode. If you've got thoughts on how things are going, what we should do, who we should move on from, would love to hear them down below. I know that some of you are going to be telling me to trade Kemp, and I can't argue with you. It's definitely something that could happen, but I am glad to see him being a bit more productive offensively with a bit more ice time these first 3 games without Marner. Until our next episode, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.